Good afternoon. I'm currently updating my Photoshop software, so I have a moment to make this wee video. Um, this is what sold in the past week, except that it's actually a couple weeks and not everything, just some random things. But hopefully, amongst them, you will find some interesting bolos or interesting whatevers. So here goes. The first thing was this 1930s edition of the Christian Science Journal, and also a another one. Both sold to the same person. They're both from the 30s, and that's a good bolo. They're not something you'd think people would want, but they do. Next, here's just a length of ribbon. It's about a yard long. It's got embroidered roses. It's sold for $5.50. No big deal, but I got this in a huge bag of stuff from a sewing and fabric um, hodgepodge store that cost $2 for the whole bag. So, look out for things that are kind of eye-catching and pretty, and people will buy them sometimes. Next, here is a group of clippings. So these are the kind of things somebody would clip out and put in their scrapbook, except in this case they didn't. They just clipped them out. And I think they were stuck in some scrapbook I bought or in a lot of other stuff, other paper. But they all kind of go together. They're all 40s movie stars. Some of them are in rough shape, like they didn't do a good job cutting them out. And some of them I'm not totally sure what they are. But I put these up and somebody purchased them and hopefully will enjoy them. Next, so this is a mystery. Now this is a candle snuffer. I got this for free from a relation, and it's sort of vintage 60s, probably brass, some nice patina, and kind of funky as candle snuffers go. I believe this sold for full price. Here is a box of black Twinkies. Sorry if I showed you this before. I don't think I did. But yeah, I was doing some RA at the dread Walmart shortly after Halloween, like the day after Halloween, and I found a few weird food, so-called food items like this, and they were like 75% off or something. So I picked them up and listed them, and these actually sold to someone in Denmark, which, more power to them. Next, this is a magazine called The Vermonter from around the turn of the century, and somebody actually bought 2 issues of it together. This one has a lot of foxing, but it's still sold. It's from 1899. Next, this is a postcard. This is a whole series, this Love Lights series of people in light bulbs, of course. And they're like romantic moments of people in light bulbs. And this is, sort of the early days of electricity, Edwardian era. And it's got like gold trim and little messages. This one is clearly not in perfect condition, but it sold for $12.50, and you can see the back. It's dated, postmarked the 1910, I guess. So that's about when they came out, roughly. Those are fun to look out for. This is a Japanese magazine. Let's see, this is the cover, I believe. It's called Kimono, and it's from the 60s, and I don't read Japanese, but the pictures are really cool because it's women wearing kimonos who are like really mod and swanky and doing like the same 60s poses that people did here in mini skirts, but they're doing them in kimonos. I don't know, it was cool. And they have big hair and stuff. So it also had a nice protective book cover around it. Anyway, that sold for full price. This is a Johnny Cash record of, you know, his biggest hit, I Walk the Line, on Sun. Oh, it's a 78. And I'm afraid I don't remember how much this sold for. It might have been full price. I forget. Anyway, it's a good 78 to look out for. This is a little Jaguar keychain that I got in a estate sale for probably 50 cents or less. I picked it up not thinking it would really sell because it's not apparently Jaguar brand. It's just some random, Jaguar keychain. But it did sell and fairly fast. So good to know. This I'm showing you because although it sold for, $5, I just thought it was interesting that it sold. I have so many religious medals up, and so many are so much nicer than this. And I just sort of put this up on a whim, and I didn't clean all the dust specks off the photo or anything. Just took a macro photo and then was like, "Ooh, that looks really dirty," and then just left it. And it's sold in a week or two. So go figure. It's not a precious metal. It's not especially old as far as I know. It's not marked Italy. It's a little, but good to know. Might, not hesitate to put up my little religious medals. Oh, look, the back of a postcard. No, this is actually a cool one. This is St. Bernard's in Switzerland in the snow, returning to the hospice, and it's just a super cool photo. I love it. Actually, this is the whole photo. But then again, pretty much anything with a dog on it, I'm a sucker for. So this sold for, I believe, $20-ish. Next, here are a bunch, and the next few things will all go together. So these are vintage, antique, I guess, auto magazines, and this is from 1905, and they actually are usually really valuable, but mine were in pretty rough shape. Like you can see here, there's rips and dirt, and people wrote on it. And I did end up taking offers on these, but I sold 3 of them to the same guy in 2 transactions. So they're really cool. Look, the cover is even off because they have all these great ads for different weird cars you've never heard of unless you're into that sort of thing. And lots of technical information and, state of the scene of car stuff in 1905. So there's this one, and then there's another issue of Automobile, and again, rough shape, but super cool magazine. Lots of these. What you need to wear in the car. Cool ads. Cool weird cars I've never heard of. Well, I've heard of a Deauville. But anyway, so there's that one, and then this one, Horseless Age. I think this one was in slightly better shape and he paid more for it. But again, this is 1903 car magazine, and just again, same kind of thing. Really great ads. Just everything is interesting in these. So that was a really good sale. I have a few more, I think, Horseless Age magazines up. I got a lot of these, or I don't know, about half a dozen of these magazines in with a lot of various paper at an auction, a live auction some time ago. And I listed them not too long ago. They sold pretty fast. So that's a good bolo. Edwardian car magazines, yes. Here's a vintage pin. It's actually really big. You can't, it's, it's 3.5 inches across, which doesn't seem that big until you make it out of metal and try to not have your shirt droop down when you pin it on you. It's just really sort of pretty vintage, like little faux diamonds, like a sort of marcasite style, but on gold tone. And that sold for, I believe, oh god, I should really keep a record, shouldn't I? $20-something, I believe. And there we go. These are just some vintage earrings that are from India. They are actually marked gold, but they're not, or they're marked something that's trying to make you think they're gold, but they are not. And I sold these, and I sold another pair like them to somebody different this week. The other pair were like oval, that same idea, and those were something that I got free in an estate sale situation, and yeah, I sold for $12.50. Here's a cool little book, and it is really little. Actually, oh look, I didn't do a ruler photo, but it's a miniature book. As I say, yeah, it measures 3 by 4, and it has a leather cover. It's kind of like a softback hybrid. It's from the Little Leather Library, and not perfect condition, but relatively rare. I mean, not impossibly rare, but not super common. And good topic, President Lincoln, Walt Whitman, and yeah, it's just really cute and little. It sold for $40. And again, this came from an auction. I bought a ton of miniature books of all different kinds, a lot of dictionaries, those little mini dictionaries, and all kinds of this and that, small books, which a lot have sold, a lot of them are still up. Next, these are cufflinks of the See No Evil, Speak No Evil, Hear No Evil monkeys, or whatever order that goes in. They're kind of hard to see because they're reflective. And I probably took the picture too close because it makes it seem like they're dirtier than they are, and it's just really a reflection. But somebody bought them anyway. And these are vintage, but not that old, maybe 60s, 70s. And I don't think are marked. No. They sold for full price, and they came from a lot of cufflinks I bought in a estate sale. And it's actually a box, like a cufflink jewelry box of probably, I want to say, like 20 pairs of cufflinks. I paid $25 for. So these I paid, a little, like a little over $1 for. So good deal. Here is an extremely dilapidated Casio calculator wristwatch. Sold for $20, even though it's in incredibly rough shape and untested. But these were were so cool. Anyway, hopefully someone will fix this up and make it beautiful again. If you hear that like crazy banging sound, that's actually my radiators. They're just doing that. It's kind of weird. That's what happens when you live in an old house. It sounds like somebody is coming to axe murder me. Okay. Next, this is a glass jar with a cool label. Don't know much about it in terms of date. I assume that it is actually old. It didn't seem like a repro to me. Especially the cover of it was not something modern looking when you felt it. Anyway, I got this at a crazy junk store in like a huge lot, so I paid just cents for it. And I don't know, it's a pretty label. It's like yeah, not super old, but it's pretty. Anyway, that's sold for full price. Next, okay, here's this weird area I dabble in a lot, which is like old components and stuff for electronics projects and like old Radio Shack stuff. And I don't know why, but I just somehow this stuff just finds me, and I find it nerdy and kind of interesting. So anyway, these are just some pre-punched boards you could use to do your wiring prototypes. And I have no idea where I got these, but apparently they originally sold for 89 cents and I sold them for $14.50. Next, this is a honorable discharge certificate from World War II. It's for this particular person. I don't know if that's why it was purchased or not, or if it was just because it's a cool piece of ephemera. He was a machinist mate, 2nd class in the Navy Reserve. And this is actually in a 2-sided frame. The back has a vertical document with his fingerprint and his signature, and more info. And the front has this certificate stuff. So yeah, it's a frame that's glass on both sides, which is kind of a neat presentation for this. Next, here we go again with me and the dog photos. Okay, so this is a gem tintype, which means it's teeny tiny, and it's like, what is it, 1 by 1.5 inch, 1.25 inch, something like that. And it was made in the 1850s, and excellently, it is of a dog. So you can see how it's constructed and stuff. Yeah, so this whole card is 4.25 inches, and the photo is just a tiny part of that. I think what helped sell this, besides being an awesome dog tintype, is that it was a identifiable dog breed. At least I think I got it right. With it being a foxhound or something similar. And it's pretty clear for a long exposure photo from this period. You can see somebody's holding their collar there, but it's a little blurry, and I don't know, it just captures something. So this sold for, I believe, $75, and yeah, dog and cat tintypes are a good bolo. If you can find them cheap, even better. Cool. What's next? Oh, here's a big G, like a letter. It's a chenille Letterman jacket patch. It's a big one. It's like 8 inches, and these sell really well for me. I find them here and there. I guess usually estate sales. There's this chenille kind, which are like they're like bubbly, kind of like a rug. And then there's also flatter ones that are felt, and they tend to do pretty well, considering that they're very specific. Like this had to go. The person who bought this said it was a present, so like had to be for someone who started with G and was in a band. This one is actually pretty grubby. I often find them in better condition, but this sold it as is. In the spirit of the holidays, here's some random Christmas tree handmade 80s pin. It's like felt with sequins and beads and stuff. It's kind of stuffed a little, so it's 3D. And I don't know who made it, but some craftsperson. You could totally make these if you wanted to. Really easy. Just cut out a felt tree and sew on a bunch of stuff. Yeah, so Christmas pin. Here's a Christmas ornament. I actually sold a lot of Christmas ornaments recently, but I don't know. I think I just put this one in. It's just something, again, totally random. I picked up probably on an estate sale, probably for virtually nothing. But it's kind of ceramic, and it's got the lion and the lamb, and it says peace on earth. And I thought, this is cute enough for someone to buy. So with Christmas ornaments, I tend to go for either really cute. That's probably the last thing I look for, but that's one characteristic. Or a brand name that I can look up and see that it sells, like all those weird Hallmark and blah, blah, blah kinds of ornaments. Or really weird. And really weird are definitely my favorite. Or really specific. So stuff like a black firefighter with a cat. Like, that's the person who's married to a black firefighter with a cat is gonna want that, right? Or, I don't know, just like really specific ones. That just happens to be one I had recently. Weird professions, stuff like that. And so this one kind of falls in the cute and sort of specific category. No, it's not that specific. Peace is pretty general. But anyway, that's sold. Here's another 78 Fred Astaire. This is newer, quote unquote. I think this sold for like 12, maybe 12 or 14. It's not that crazy valuable, but worth selling. And okay, here's another area that I seem to dabble in a lot, which is genealogy stuff. This is a CD, or probably a CDR thing, computer disc, with just records on it that you can probably get online now, but you might need a subscription. And like, for example, I don't even have a way to read these in my computer anymore. But if you did, this would be cool. If you needed a Family Archives Russians to America 1850 to 1896 passenger and immigration lists database. But yeah, like genealogy stuff it sells kind of slowly, but it does sell. It's the kind of thing, like if you found a lot of it at an estate sale, it would be like stuff like this, like record CDs or books, like books about how to do genealogy or genealogy magazines. Not huge sellers, not fast sellers, but they do sell and can be gotten for inexpensive prices. Sorry, I'm talking so weird. I don't know what's up with that. And what's next? Oh, this little guy. He's so cute. So this is a Royal Copenhagen figure of a mouse. And he's really tiny. Do I have a ruler picture? Yeah. He's less than 2 inches high. It's just like really well modeled. I like his curves, his or her. And it's fully signed and dated and marked and all that stuff. I did look all this up at one time when I listed it and knew what it all meant, but I don't remember. But I do know it's Royal Copenhagen, and that is collected not something that will necessarily go super fast. I think I listed this around April or May, and it's now December, so 6 months. And yeah, they did a lot of these little white mice actually, so they're worth looking for. Oh yeah, look, it says Jens Peter Dahl Jensen design for Bing and Grandal. So yeah, I guess I knew what it was at the time. I think this is last. This is just a postcard of sardine boats of Maine, and it's, you know, something kind of specific scene, sardine boats. Maine, like I probably already always say, isn't a super great postcard seller, but if you get interesting ones, they do sell. This is, I don't know when this is from, but it's, you know, fairly old. And I do believe that is it. So, whole mess of interesting things have sold since this lot of interesting things, but I will leave those for the next video next week sometime. I'll try to do these more on the regular. And actually, that's kind of a theme for next year, doing things more on the regular. I don't know. It's kind of an aspiration for my reselling business to do things in a more systematized way, because, you know, that's how business is done. And even though this started as a part-time business for me, and I have a quote-unquote real business that I run properly, quote-unquote, I really need to up the ante on this one too. So I'm going to try to be doing things more systematically, and perhaps I will talk about that if I figure out something interesting to say. And until then, have a great week.